If you like horror comics and you like scares comics, well, you're going to love this video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Paper Chase channel. It's been a minute, being a dad and all is definitely time consuming, but I found a quick second to make a video that I think is going to be informative and maybe entertaining of some books that I recently acquired. But first, as always, before we get into this video, if you want to support the video in any way, you can do that by hitting the like button. Thank you. So what is going on? I've missed you all so much. So since I've been gone, I actually got to do my first con setup. Not really a con, more of a meetup, a vendor setup where I actually set up boxes and sell in person. This was great. I typically give a lot of selling advice, but most of my sales that I do is online, eBay, Instagram, whatnot, things like that. So what I'm going to share with you guys is what my first setup looked like. It was at the C4 Explosion, which is in Covington, Louisiana. It was a great time with great people, great vendors. If you're ever in Southern Louisiana, check to see if this thing is going on. They do it multiple times a year. And thank you to everybody for being welcoming and helping me get set up there. Can't wait to do it again. Other than selling books, I actually made an amazing trade for this book that's been on my list for a while. So I'm going to share with you guys how I got this book. Bet you can't guess what I traded to get it. And 5 other comic pickups that I got within the past week that are amazing and that I got for damn near nothing. So with all of that being said, first, here's some footage of me in my first vending experience. Check it out. So there it was, not bad for, the first setup. It's pretty cool. I really enjoyed selling in person. Great story about when I was there. Highlight of the day, a dad and his daughter were searching through my back issue bins, and I had a good bit of Alien comics that I was selling. And without a beat, the daughter is tiptoeing up to look at her dad to see what he's searching through. And she says, "Hey, that's the Xenomorph." And I saw the dad's jaw hit the floor. I was trying to just let them search, not really hover over them, but I could tell that the dad had never heard his daughter utter the word xenomorph before. And after she frolicked away, after completely snatching her dad's wig off, metaphorically, I looked at him and I said, "I bet you're very proud right now, aren't you?" He's like, "I had no idea." I was like, "Dude," I said, "that is crazy. Where do they learn it?" Happy they learned it, but where do they learn it? So that was great. That kind of made my day. Now, when I was there, one of the other vendors, I believe the name is Brick Wall Comics, they recently acquired an amazing collection of like 35 long boxes. And the guy's son, also a vendor there, came up to me and he saw something on my table that was not a comic book, and he wanted it. and he said, would you be willing to trade? Now, I came to this thing and I was not willing to trade anything. I was like, look, I'm here to make some money and sell because I'm prepping for a bigger con that's coming up, and I want to have as much capital going into that as possible. And so I thought about it. I was like, well, you know what? Hold on. He might have something I want. Hulk 197. Now, the significance of this book is this is a Bernie Wrightson cover. Bernie Wrightson is probably my favorite comic book artist, period. And I love it when, and he's predominantly a horror comic artist, and I love it when they do work on things that aren't necessarily a horror title. So Incredible Hulk, you can see here, he's fighting Man-Thing. And Bernie Wrightson was actually the creator of Swamp Thing. And it's just kind of funny also to see him draw Man-Thing on this cover when, you know, Man-Thing is kind of like Marvel's answer to DC's Swamp Thing. He also does some really cool Bronze Age Batman issues that are great. So I love his non-horror stuff to try to find. His horror stuff is amazing. One of my favorite covers by him is this House of Secrets issue number 100. This thing is gorgeous in a 9.6. Super hard to get this book in this condition. Very pleased with it. It's one of my favorite books in my collection. Anyway, all that being said, he did have this book, and then I found another book that I was like, you know what, let me pick up because these things are kind of like picking up some steam right now. I also got this Iron Man 1 photo variant. I know these things are kind of picking up steam. So what was the trade? He traded me that book plus the Invincible Iron Man book for a friend's Lego set. This is no joke, and I owe this all to my fiance Crystal, because before I left, I was going through the closet of like toys and things I was going to sell at this gathering, and I saw her old friend's Lego set. I picked it up and I said, are you ever going to take this thing out ever again? Are you ever going to reassemble it? 'Cause she's like, no, do what you want with it. So I traded her friend's Lego set for a comic I've been trying to get for like 6 months. What a deal. So thank you very much, Crystal. Love you. But that was great. Okay, so that was the trade, but there's more. So I got another 5 books in the mail this week that are amazing, and I'll share them with you. Maybe you knew about them, maybe you don't. Next up on the list is a couple of eBay grabs that I got. And we'll talk about a couple of times on this video here. Our buddy over on Instagram, Matrix Comics, who is very into horror and scares books and things like that. So a couple of things are related to him, but one is this one that he brought to my attention that I had no idea about. Back to Bernie Wrightson, I did find this Twisted Tales number 2 at an incredible deal. The significance about this book is like, this is one of the first things, if I'm not mistaken, that Bernie Wrightson drew once he was given the liberty to kind of not really abide by the Comics Code Authority. You know, when you're with DC and things like that, you know, this is spooky, right? I guess you can call it horror, but it's spooky. This is horrific. You have a bunch of like decapitated heads and things like that and blood on the axe. I think this is the first time like Wrightson was able to say, hey, look, do what you want. You can't offend anybody. This is crazy. Look at this. This is wild. So this thing is in very high grade. It's not a 9.8. I'm still looking for a 9.8, but I saw this at a great price. It was $10, free shipping. So I snatched this up. And from that same seller, I got one more book. But this one, our buddy Rev from Reverend Wormwood Comics, friend of the channel, knows this book very well. This is a copy of X23 issue 21, the final issue. Now, it's not really horror. I mean, it kind of is. There's a bunch of blood and a dead wolf on the cover. But it is very scarce. So this is a final issue, which typically means in comics that it's a scarce printing. I've run into this book twice before. Both copies were, you know, either low grade or mid grade, and I was looking for a 9.8 copy. I sold the low grade copy. I actually gave the mid grade copy to Rev because he's been great helping me out prep for this con. I was like, but I still need to find a copy, and I found this from the same seller as the Twisted Tales number 2. And this thing is insanely high grade, and I think was way underpriced. This thing was only $12 with free shipping. That's an insane deal, and I'm saying this thing here is a 9.8. Probably will get this graded. Speaking of graded comics, CGC has still yet to release a new case. And so I think where I'm at right now with CGC is a book that might be like $100 to maybe $350, something like that, that nobody really wants to risk manipulating or being fraudulent about, maybe I'll grade books like that, because I still want to get things graded, certain things graded. But I think the big books that I have that I was going to get graded, like I have a very, very high grade copy of Batman 181. Stuff like that, I don't know if I want to go to CGC just yet. So I'm still on the fence. But speaking of, if you don't want to use CGC, the guys over at Comic Capsule sent me 2 of these. So these things here look to be pretty cool. I'm going to pop them open. I'm going to put a couple of these comics I'm going to show you in a second in here. They're actually anti-UV, which is great for displaying. They seem very sturdy. But one of the comics I'm going to put in here is a very scarce horror comic. Not sure if you've seen this one. This is Halloween issue number 2 from Chaos Comics in 2003, maybe. So this right here is basically like the movie, picks up exactly where Halloween 1 left off. And this was limited to a print run of 3,000. So very hard to find, very hard to get in high grade. Now, where did this come from? If you've been to any of the live stuff or looked in any of the comment sections below this video, there's a great friend of the channel, Zimman, who has been a great supporter for a very long time. And the next 3 books I'm going to share with you were given to me from him. And it's just amazing that he wanted to do this. And I'm going to give him something in return, don't worry. But this was one of the books that he sent me. He took a photo of it. He sent it to me. He's like, "You want this?" I'm like, of course. This thing is super high grade, and you know, even as high grade as it is, it's like I don't even know if I want to get it graded. I kind of want to stick it in a comic capsule and throw it on the wall. I mean, do I need to know that this is a 9.8? I feel like that's where my grading preference is going. It's like if something is expected to be a 9.8 because it's so modern and it's so off the press, does it really matter if it's a 9.8? Like, it should be a 9.8. The glory of grading something in high grade is something that's not meant to be a 9.8, like some of the, like this guy, like this. This is not meant to be a 9.8. Or this, not meant to be a 9.8. These are insane grades for these books in the years that these came out. That's where the fun's at, you know? I always show these off because they're some of my favorite books. So if you ever see these on multiple posts or videos about me talking about these, I love them. And you know what? And honestly, now thinking about it, if I just sent this in and it didn't get a 9.8 and it got like a 9.6, I might be like pissed or something. So maybe just put it on the wall and enjoy it. Then he gave me 2 more books, 2 of which I read them. And we'll say we'll like these for the covers, not for the innards. This one is A Nightmare on Elm Street, number 1, which is a magazine style, but this is a comic book. It's a newsstand edition. And this is technically Freddy's first appearance in comics. I love my Freddy comics, and I love my rare Freddy comics. So this is Fright number 3. This is the first time he ever appeared on a comic book. This is his first, like, in the guts, pun intended, in the story comic book here. And the story's garbage. I'm telling you right now. Terrible. The art's very cool inside of it. You know, there is something about Freddy and comic book art go very well together, and I really enjoyed looking through this, but not a fan of the story. I did complete it because the second book was this one right here, this amazing cover with him in the tree. These came out in 1989. There are direct and newsstand editions of this, so these are the newsstand versions, which are a little bit harder to come across. So, Freddy Krueger, first appearance in comics. So thank you again so much, Zimman. I'm going to send you some books in the mail to you. And there we go. Looks amazing. UV protected. These are great. These are really, really cool. The only note, just be wary, and it says it on the front of the packaging, measure your comics. So for instance, I use Silver Age bags and boards on pretty much everything, or bigger. So the only really one that's going to fit in here, if you want to put a backer board to add further protection, you're going to have to go with a modern backer board. And here's the Hulk 197, gorgeous, presents beautifully in it. I love the clarity of these. These are great. Only thing I would be cautious of is you might want to stack some backer boards inside to fill up some of the space, because depending on the size of the comic, it can rock back and forth. That's my only word of caution when using these, is maybe fill up the space so it doesn't move around. Alright guys, well that's it for this video. Missed you all. Glad we can rekindle this relationship. always fun to share you comics and share things that I get with you guys. It's why I do this. It's just a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Subscribe if you like stuff like this. Hit the like on your way out, and we'll see you on the next page.